Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It is Sunday night again, and it is time for another live stream. Now, tonight we've got some things to talk about. We've actually got some really good things to talk about tonight. We're going to be talking about the big 500, because in theory, this is, I can't quite believe this, but the 500th video on the channel, there and thereabouts, but it will be officially the 500th. It did say to me the last one was, but I don't think that's quite right. But technically, this will be the 500th live upload on the channel, and we're going to talk about that as well, which is incredible. We're going to talk about this thing, which I was flying today, my flying lawnmower, because we need to find out what I've done. I managed to get some flights in today. We had some good weather, which has been unusual. And just to show you guys what I'm talking about is I had one or two crashes. The last crash, so we need to have a look at this in a bit more detail and see if it even works. I'm not even sure if I've burnt an ESC on this, because when it was upside down in the grass, it was still trying to spin the motors up, even though it was disarmed. And that's never a good sign, is it? Let's be honest. But I didn't get any magic smoke. So we'll get the props off, we'll get it on the bench, we'll clean it up, and then we'll fire it up, and we'll do that live on the stream. We're going to talk about why so Shill. And if you guys don't know what that's about, we will be talking a bit about kickback from people when you make videos. And I put a couple of comments up on one of JB's videos, and JB put a funny post on Instagram, so we'll take a look at that. We're going to talk about the new receiver from TBS, which is the 500 milliwatt nano for Crossfire. Nearly said Express LRS, didn't I? We will talk about Orqa a little bit, and we'll talk where the situation is on the goggles on that, because people have been getting their hands on them this week. Nothing really shocking has come to light, but they've also finally updated their website and stuff too. We will then talk about a couple of other things. The new 1 watt Express LRS transmitter from Digital FPV, which is the new module. And you can see, I got it here. Well, no, you can't see because I'm pointing at it where you can't see it. It's there, look. It's in the radio. And yes, it's black. It fits in color with the radio, although it's got a white antenna on it, but we'll ignore that. And we'll talk a little bit about this as well, which is a new soldering station, which I ordered in just before Christmas. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit from an FPV and a drone builder's perspective. And there will be a review coming on that in the future as well. Now, I'm just waiting for my lovely wife to bring me up a cup of tea, because I was running a little bit late and I didn't have a chance to make it. So I'll break off to get that now in a moment. As always, it's been a busy week, but it's also been an interesting one as well. And there's a couple of things I want to talk about. I've had a load of messages from people I haven't even had a chance to reply to this week, because it's just been so crazy. And I need to get on top of them. And we're also going to talk about equipment that fails as well, because my Rode Wireless Go has given up, and I'm a bit annoyed about that. And we'll talk about that too. Now, as always, guys, with the live streams, I'm going to put the chat back up a sec. We've got you guys here with us. If you've got any questions, anything you want to know, please do let me know in the chat. I will try and answer it. If you want to back it up with a super chat as well to thank us for what we do, when I say we, it's the royal we, which is me. Please do consider hitting the button. If you're new here, please do consider hitting the subscribe button. And if you'd like to support us further, please do consider joining our Patreon. I also need to get up the Discord server too, because I do have the Discord server as well, and that's up as well. Oh, I've been hanged into a chat on somewhere else, on JB's forum. Someone's messaged me on that. But yeah, so if you do have any questions, put them in and we will try and get to them as always. So to have a look who we've got. Good evening, David. David was early doors. Hiya, Dave. Thank you. I've got your email just now. Thank you, mate. I'll have a look at it. Good evening, Mike. Hope you're well. Tunes FPV. Just chilling here. Very nicely done. Very nicely done. Good evening, Mike. Good evening, Craig, Steve, Mike again, W1LFPV, Good evening, Jason. How are you, Robert? How are you, Rob? Good evening, Failsafe. How are you, my friend? Still haven't flown. I'll be flying that flight controller this week. Bobby, good evening. I just updated to Betaflight 4.3 in X. Oh, you're a brave man. You're ahead of me. I haven't even looked at it yet. Someone's been cutting the grass. I have. I definitely have. The lawnmower, sod farmer. Yeah, it's pretty rough. It's pretty rough indeed. The bench will be clean for sure. It's going to need something. We're going to have to get the Hoover out for it, that's for sure. But the real sad part was that, yeah, as I said, it was trying to fly the motors as it was upside down in the grass, disarmed, and I'm sitting here thinking, oh, this is not good. This is not good. But that's not the only position it ended up in today, because if I show you guys this, it also ended up like that at one point in the fence where I, let's just say, ran out of talent. Ooh, look at that. I'm off to the side a bit too much. Let me just move myself to where I should be. There we go. I just ran out of talent. I was trying to get it through a gate. What you can't actually see is this is a gateway, and the bit of it is only just here. And I was trying to get it through, and I just caught the arm. But what's quite impressive with this is I caught it from this angle, and it sort of spun back around into the fence. I just caught the edge of it, and it spun back around, and it was hanging there. But again, no magic smoke, which was a good sign. I got to say, I think it's got an AiXun ESC in that, so I'm quite impressed, because it certainly went sod farming today. Because as I said, that was it at one point as well, and that's it when it wasn't dry. Let's just say that's it at its wet point today. That was it, just as I'd recovered it after the last big off. So this is my smasher build. It'll be interesting to see what's left of it at the end as well. But as always, guys, if there's any questions, as I said, put them in the chat. Hey, guys, good evening, Bobby. Failsafe. Second quad went 4.3 today. You guys are ahead of me. I'm not jumping into it. I need to go and have a look. I need to have a bit of a play. I've been playing with it on a board, but I've not flown it yet properly. Front legs on that quad are quite... I'm looking through all the presets, and this is cool. There's a lot of nice stuff in 4.3. I do need to now probably put it... I'm going to probably put it on this, in fact. If this still works, we'll convert that to 4.3. That's going to be the first one. So, the first subject we're going to cover, guys, and the first one I'm going to talk about very quickly is this. And this is my Rode Wireless Go. Now, for you guys who don't know, I use a lot of equipment here making content on the channel, and one of the biggest ones I use is the Rode Wireless Go. If I go to the overhead, if you don't know what it is, it's a two-part microphone system. Wireless mics, where are we? Well, hey, there we go. Wireless mic system. So you've got the base, this bit here, which goes into your camera, and then you've got this, which is the microphone bit. And if I just plug it back in a second, and if I hit this button here, if I go to that one and do it, you can hear me now. There we go. So you can hear, I'm talking to you now on this. So I've got this in front of me, and this is the Rode Wireless Go. That's how it sounds. It's got a microphone on the top there built in. And I use this for recording a huge amount of my content, massive amount of it with the Rode Wireless Go. There's also this accessory, which is the Lav Go, which is available for it as well. And it basically adds an external lavalier. And really frustratingly, the Lav has given up completely out the blue. So, for instance, I'm talking to you guys on this now. If I just plug this in and watch, completely died. No video. 1 second, my cup of tea's arrived. Thank you very much. There's timing. There we go. I'll put my cup of tea by there. But yeah, so the Lav is working actually. The mic is working absolutely fine, but the Lav, nothing. It's working, and I have no idea why. Let me just pop back the proper mic. There we go, on the big one. There's no damage on the cable. It's got a I think it's Kevlar infused cable. and it's just died. So it's a frustration for me. Let me just untangle it. There's no damage on this end down here. Nothing I can see. It all looks fine. It's the same on this end. And whilst the microphone windshield's coming off a little bit, it's absolutely fine. But no damage to the cable at all. No nicks, no nothing. But unfortunately, it doesn't work. As I said, it's just given up. Now, this is a frustration for me because this is a very good bit of kit. And what's annoying is this lav is like, I think it was like 50, 60 quid, 70 quid, something like that. So if you do have one, take it easy, look after it. I'm a bit annoyed that it has failed, but what can you do? The Rode Wireless Go, now I had this almost on launch. This has been really good. I've had no issues with it. My only complaint with the Wireless Go is if you do any recording, the battery life isn't the greatest on it. And it does have a habit of going flat. And the annoyance is, once it's flat, you can't use it. You've got to wait for it to charge again. And, you know, there's no external batteries or anything like that. That's the limiting factor on it. I've had the lav well over 12 months. It's over a year. But it's just frustrating when you have a product that costs what this does fail. But it's not FPV related, but I wanted to mention it if you do use one. They use it. No, I don't think it did. I don't think it was Amazon. I don't think it was. I'll need to check on that one. But yeah, it is what it is. But I just thought I'd mention that. So, 500 videos. I'm a little bit shocked on this, actually. Let me just get the screen in place. And then I'm going to go onto the desktop. And just to show you guys, I am blown away that we've got to that on the channel. It's been a very long slog, don't get me wrong. And over the last 2 years, I have put a lot more effort into things, doing what I want to do, when I want to do it, in the sense of putting a bit more effort into it. Probably too much time, if I'm completely honest, and it isn't something I'm going to be able to continue to do. COVID has meant I have been around, especially at night, a lot more, which has meant I can do things in here. But I am blown away, and I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who watches the channel, and you know, through all of the videos. There's some good here, but there's a lot of bad. There's some good, but there's a lot of bad content as well. But I just want to say, more than anything, a massive thank you to you guys. Let me just move over to there. You know, it wouldn't have been possible without you guys, because there would be no point in me making the content if no one watched it. So yeah, 500, and I think roughly, you know, this stream will be classed as that. And obviously the plan is to keep going forward. We're going to keep making more content, hopefully. Lots more to come in the future as well. And I put the video up the other day about the ruler, which is this thing here. And let me just go to the overhead. And I'm really blown away by the feedback I had on this. I'll be honest, I have found so many mistakes on this after putting that video up. And actually, I want to say a big thank you to everyone who fed back on the Discord server, and there's some people I will thank when it's out properly, but also on the video that I put out as well, because, you know, a couple of people say, well, why have you posted it? People could just copy it now. Well, if they want to put the effort into putting it together, then so be it. But the reality was, it was also a bit of a sounding out exercise for me, and it also picked up a lot of errors, and we found another one tonight. There were loads, so many errors, and I just couldn't see them for looking. I really couldn't. But we're nearly there. I'm going to probably... The plan is to get the first proper batch into production this week. Oh, any more room for stick commands? All I'm going to do is, if I just show this... well, something like that. So something along the lines of what you're seeing up there, perhaps. Something like that, maybe. Any more room for stick commands? I can't possibly comment on what's here. Maybe stick commands. I don't know. Maybe there's also other changes on it as well, which you guys haven't seen, which I'm gonna. There has been a bit of a move around of stuff. But yes, there's some new stuff there. There's a move around of other stuff as well. Not dramatic changes, But there has been some changes with some new stuff on board. Obviously, there's a limited amount of space, so some's had to come on, some's had to go off. However, I think it is 99% there. I got one spelling mistake that's just been found in the word additional. I don't know how that works. But the plan is to probably place the order mid to the end of the week. I'd like to do it tomorrow, but I want to hold off as long as I can to give myself another chance to check some things, because I want this batch to be right. We've had to take the charts off and change the way the charts were shown because the screen printing process just didn't like it. I've had some conversations with JLB PCB, which we're just negotiating how much of a refund they're going to give me. That's what I'm going to say, because they've completely messed it up and they've made me an offer to replace them or refund with a voucher. But the refund with a voucher, they want to give me less than I've paid. Whereas if I asked them to redo them with the mistake they made corrected, I would be in a better position. So I'm just questioning why they're willing to reprint them and post them to me, yet they won't give me a credit for the same value. If you get my meaning. Bit naughty, that. Testbed, always better to have it before. Yeah, I did rush the first order in. I should have held back, and it would have been 98% there. And whilst there would have been problems, still, it would have been less problems, if you know what I mean. But we are getting there, and I said it's really close now, and it just looks fantastic, honestly. I cannot stress how good this thing looks. You guys can see it there with the gold and the black. It just looks unbelievable. It really does. I was blown away just how the printing around everything came out as well. So yeah, I'm really pleased with it. Overall, okay, it's not perfect, but it just fantastic. I am literally blown away on that. So the plan is this week. Then we will be putting the first order in of 10, and then I've got to decide how I do the numbers then, on whether we do them in 10s, 20, 50s, or more. My only concern with doing higher quantities is if I get another mistake like they made, it's going to be on far more. But then again, as long as the 10 are correct, then it should be thing. Then when they're ready, I will be okay, I'm going to be honest with you. The first batch is going to be offered to the Patreons first. That is how it's going to be done. Because they have been supporting me, and I'm going to be offering to them up front. There's a bunch of people who have been instrumental in making it happen, which I want to talk to as well. And then the reality is, what will happen is the first 10 will be ordered, and literally the second they come in, they're fine. I will be doing a second order and probably a third order straight away. Up front, it's looking at around, I've got about 40 or 50 people who are interesting. So it's going to be the patrons, then a few others, and then, oh God, what's this? Oh God, I've lost my recording options. I filled a drive. Am I in the right mode? That's interesting. It won't let me record anymore. Oh well. It's unusual. The live streams don't normally take up that much space when recording. That's strange. I would add the metal look and icons on the black LRS. I would add the metal look on all icons on the back, like the Express LRS. Yeah, there are some. Yeah, there's some little tweaks I got to do. There are some little tweaks. Yeah, there's a couple of little areas that I have got to tweak. But overall, it'll be there. So the plan is middle of the week, double check, and double check. And then as long as that's good, we'll get 10 done. I've just got to wait till JLB PCB? As I said, just get that discussed and up and running. Okay. checking up on the chat before we move forward. What's up, Matty's Drone World? How are you, my friend? Fly Zones, Matty. Hello, my friend, guys. David, no problem. Bonds 1980, how are you? I won Pavo 30 or Cinelog 25. Which one is better at carrying a GoPro naked? I am not the person to answer that. Is there anyone in the chat who will give anyone who's got an opinion on that? I am not a big cine flyer, if I'm honest. Cobra, how are you? Hope you're safe and well, my friend. Hope you're all good. Okay, so let's hop over and have a look at the shilling thing. So, as I've said, one of the big thing is why so shill. And this week, the great JB put out a video talking about HD0 and sort of comparing the out-and-out image quality to DJI with the modern cameras. And he was using something that we've not had up until now, which is we basically now are in a position where there are the same cameras on both systems, so you can use that as a comparison. And what you're then looking at is the inherent behavior of the systems versus one versus the other. So JB put the video up talking about the different systems. And as always, whenever you're going to talk between two things, there's going to be a lot of controversy. And I just found it interesting, the amount of posts and comments about why JB is a shill for DJI and he's always against HD0. And let me just find the video itself. And look, JB didn't say anything I don't agree with in there, in the sense of what he showed was what I would personally have expected. Let me just find the video itself. Where is it? There it is. So if I put this one up, it's this video here where JB basically confirms. Oh God! JB basically confirms, shows the difference between the cameras, and he talks about the image quality. And I really suggest checking it out if you haven't seen it. It's worth a look. And he basically shows the difference between DJI and HD0. So you got HD0 there, and then DJI there. And when you look at it, it is clear when you do look between the differences that DJI has more detail. There's no real massive question in that, in my opinion. When you look at the out and out, it's sharper, but I think there's more detail there. My personal opinion is, whilst there's no question HD0 is HD, there is definitely more detail in DJI than HD. Now, there is a reason for this, and there's complete logic here. This should be nothing that anyone is surprised about. And I'm not going to leave it up too long because I'll probably get a copyright strike, but you can just see between the two there. You got HD0 zoomed in and DJI zoomed in there. And look, this isn't scientific. This isn't perfect testing. You can argue all day long. You can change the tests to show this or that. But what I found interesting was not the fact of what JB had showed and what he was saying, was the amount of people who come out and argued that he's making it look bad and this and this and this. And look, the very simple reality is DJI is using traditional video compression, the same style of compression that is used in HD TV, satellite TV, any form of wireless video where it is streamed. DJI are using that compression. You have an algorithm which takes the image, it then compresses that data using H.264 or H.265, depending on what mode they're actually using. We don't know for sure, but it's that kind of thing. It's encoding it, it's transmitting it, and then it's decoding it and displaying that on the display. That encoding method is tried and tested and designed to deliver very nice looking images. If your TV HD video signal looked crap, you wouldn't be happy about it. So that's what this encoding process is designed to do. It's not it should be no surprise that it looks good, because it's designed to. That's what that codec is designed to do. Deliver an image that looks tidy. HD0 is different. It isn't encoding video the same way DJI does. It does things completely different to anything else. It doesn't do compression. It does data loss, to reduce some of the size of the image, and it does then encode it, but we don't fully understand how that's done. And it doesn't really recover that data on the receiver side in the same way you would expect traditional HD to. And as a result of this, you do find that HD0 has a bit of a muddy look to it at times. And that is evident in JB's video. It should be no shock that this is the case because they're not doing the same thing. They are encoding completely different. Their behavior is different. And that is the fact of the matter. HD0 has a big benefit that DJI does not have, which is fixed latency. DJI has the benefit that it does not have. It has better overall image quality in the best conditions, which is on the bench. And that's it. So this should be no surprise of anyone. But I did find it interesting just the amount of people who were accusing him, of being paid by DJI, and he's anti-Fat Shark and everything. And I actually put a post up on his own Discord server, which I'm going to share now. And JB posted this, which made me laugh on Instagram. And JB put it up with a post just saying, I love my Discord server. And I put this post up here, which you can see here. And I basically, I can't believe JB, the DJI Shill, would be so against HD0. They clearly paid him to make that video. It's easy to see his bias and his DJI paid Shill coming through with the way he talks HD0 down due to being a paid DJI Shill, because he clearly is, because he's making a video like that. And the way he flies like a paid DJI Shill, because haven't you watched JB fly? It's the way he flies like he's paid from DJI as well. It's shocking, in fact, how biased he is against Fat Shark, and he makes it so obvious with his Orqa goggles, his Express LRS receivers, and his bloody red tape. Again, the man is just a DJI Shill. It's fact. It's a fact. You can see it in the way he flies around his house that they're paying him. He flies in a way that can only be paid by DJI. But anyway, so I put this post up in jest, which was just to sort of, have a bit of a poke at all of the, oh my God, he's paid. Oh my God, he's anti this. And look, the reality is this. If you give an opinion, you're going to have people on both sides. And it's interesting. And Blunty put a post on there as well, saying it must be hard to be a shill as well. But I do just find it really interesting that, the second you say anything good about something, someone jumps on you and says, this guy's brilliant. And the second you say anything bad, they find a reason to say you're a shill for someone else. Look, DJI don't pay anyone to make content outside of Rotor Riot. They have a sponsorship deal with Rotor Riot, and no one knows how long that's for or what it's about. That's clear and obvious, and everyone knows that. But trust me, DJI don't just pay people to talk about their products. It doesn't happen. They have deals they do with KOLs and stuff, but JB is under no more influence from DJI as he is HD0. He wouldn't be worth any serious creator being biased for any manufacturer, because you just alienate your community. And it's quite funny. I find it amusing, but the reality is what he's showing is his opinion on the bench, and it's not the perfect scenario. You can pick holes in any test. Yes, it looks great in perfect conditions. Will it look that good flying? No, it won't. All JB was just showing was it's literally this versus that on the bench. That's it. That's it. DJI don't out and out pay anyone to make content. There are some that get sponsorship. There are some that get deals, but trust me, having been on the other side of the curtain, it doesn't work how you think. Most of these things are very limited deals to review a product or showcase it or talk about it. And I'll be honest, a lot of the time they don't even pay. A lot of it is DJI credit. So I just find it interesting. Just catching up on the chat. That guy's a shill for Andrex. You know what I mean? Cinewoop. Did you see what they are building in JB's yard? It's a giant DJI logo. I have seen. What is he building in his yard? Does anyone know? Is he building a hut or something? I did see something in his yard. DJI picks their creators. Yeah, they do. But look, trust me, they don't pay. The only deal I've ever really seen going on and on and on is Rotor Riot. I've not seen anything else. Where can I get a HD receiver module? They're hard to get right now. There will be more stock in the next month or so. Right now, the stock of the Fat Shark goggle module appears to have almost wiped out. There's been no official comment on this, but it does seem like it has vanished and isn't available right now. Carl is going to be making his own modules. He's already said this, but they have been delayed as a result of the human malware situation in China. They're going to be a month or two out, I suspect. You're going to find it hard to get in on the system right now. We don't even know if Fat Shark are still manufacturing that module. What I like most about DJI is that I've been flying it for over 2 years. It's a very good system. It's a very good system. But yeah, you're going to struggle to get that receiver anywhere. If you can find one, order it instantly, but supply is very, very low. There's been no official answer on it either. There's been no official answer on what's going on other than Carl is making his own, and that is because he doesn't own the molds to the plastics, I believe it is. So we're going to have to wait for that to happen. But the HD0RX shouldn't be too long. It shouldn't be too long. They're probably going to suffer a little bit in the meantime on that, but then again, you know, the world's in a supply shortage situation anyway, so that's the thing. Hey, do ND filters fit with the low winter sun? I was just out flying and it was so... ND filters are only really to change the shutter speed of the camera. They're not going to help with it. The idea of an ND filter is to change the shutter speed to get it to be double your frame rate. So you have what is known as motion smoothing in videography, and there's this general rule where your shutter speed should be twice your frame rate, and that gives what is perceived to be the ideal motion blur on a video footage. So the idea of an ND filter is allowing you to change the aperture of a camera that you don't have aperture control over because there is no aperture. So most FPV cameras have no aperture. They're fixed. It's open. So all you can do, you can only reduce light by reducing ISO. But there's a point where you can't get the ISO any lower because you're at ISO 100 because you're on a bright day. So your only option then is either to increase shutter speed or use an ND filter. So what you would traditionally do on a camera drone, if you wanted to record at 30 frames a second to get the nicest motion blur, you'd ideally want your shutter speed at 60 or 1/60th of a second. However, you can't in bright sunshine days because your shutter speed is probably 400th, 500th of a second. So what you use then is an ND filter to reduce the amount of light coming into the camera, which then extends the shutter speed, and then you aim to get that 180-degree rule, which is what it's known. It's not going to really... It will reduce the light going into the camera, but it will reduce all of the light going into the camera. And then if you can't block off the ISO, because you do need to fix the ISO to get the benefit of it, otherwise it's just going to jack the ISO up. Yeah, I agree, Bruce. It is overrated. It's, you know, it's a very, very... It is a very old rule that goes back all the way to the days where there were rotating discs in cameras. You know, and it's one that's stuck. The only, you know, to get a benefit from an ND, you do need to, though, be able to fix the ISO. Because if you don't, it'll just jack the ISO up. That's all it's going to do. The camera will naturally, because you think the ND filter... Okay, the idea of an ND filter is it reduces light without affecting its color. That's why they call it a neutral density filter. It reduces light without putting a shade on it, so it shouldn't change. The light should look the same. Polarized can help. Definitely a polarized can help, but it's only going to help if you can polarize the sun out the way, because the easiest way to think about a polarizing filter is it's like a set of blinds. It will stop light coming in on certain angles. So as long as the sun is at the right position, then you're able to then rotate the filter to cut that out, or at least reduce it. If you ever want to see how well a polarizing filter works, look at your computer monitor through one. I use 160 shutter speed with 30 frames a second, 100 ISO on my Hero 8. Then either, yeah, and on the GoPro you can lock it. A higher shutter is preferable. Yeah, it does. And look, motion blur is subjective. I really like 60 frames a second footage over 30, and I prefer 60 frames with a decent shutter speed as well. Because you've got to remember, okay, so say you're at 30 frames a second and you've got shutter at every 60th of a second. So that shutter is only opening for half the time of the frame. So remember, that shutter is only actually capturing half of the period of that whole frame. So what you've got is a period of that frame, half that frame, the shutter's open, and half the frame, the shutter's closed. And and that movement you're having in that half frame isn't recorded in the footage you're capturing. Again, it depends what you're doing. Good evening, Dave, as well. Nice to see you. I'm Bruce. Good evening, good evening, good evening. How are you guys? Nice to see Dave, South Wales Drones. If you don't know who he is, he's a fantastic drone dealer here in Wales in the UK. And Dave, have you got a website? If you have, post it up. I've never seen if you've actually got a website. I never have. I can never find it. Yeah, and as you know, bro, look, there's thousands of videos online. If you go and look at people doing, 180, 360 and all of that, there's thousands of videos showing the difference. It's all minimal overall. Okay, guys, so that was what I was talking about, the Shillness. But I did laugh at JB putting the post up. It was very funny. It was very funny indeed. It really was, and he's put it up on Instagram as well. So the next thing to talk about, and that is this, the new Crossfire Nano RX Pro from TBS. The receiver no one really asked for. There we go. There's Dave's website. I say it's the receiver no one really asked for. Okay, it's a receiver that has been made available for Crossfire that has an increased telemetry output. So what they've added is a power amplifier that will push the telemetry up to 500 milliwatts than the traditional output. Now, I'm guessing it was about 12 dBm or 17 milliwatt. They're not saying here, but almost all of the receivers I've seen are about 17 milliwatt on the standard one, whereas now they've added this one, which has 500 milliwatts output when using it on Crossfire. Really, the benefits for this, and this was discussed tonight on JB's stream as well, and that was around the fact that this new receiver should potentially allow you to go further in 150 hertz mode on Crossfire. Not necessarily increase overall range, but increase the range over on 150 hertz before it drops down to the next level. That's the theory. Oh, Bruce said he thinks it was 25. Okay, I hadn't seen it. Most of the Express LRS ones are about 17 milliwatt, 1725. That makes sense. So it's gonna hopefully do that, because in Crossfire, it uses the telemetry to adjust what the rate is, and the theory is, and what everyone seems to be coming to the conclusion of, is that it should allow you potentially to stay in 150 hertz longer. But it's going to have to be seen. So it is a new receiver. If we look at it compared to the original, so we've got the Nano receiver here, and if you can see on this one, if we have a closer look, you can see you've just got the main chipset. and then you've just got the RF output up here. Nothing major, nothing else involved. Whereas on the new one, you've now got a power amplifier. So they've added a power amplifier stage from the main chipset, and then that's going to give the up to 500 milliwatts output. Price-wise, you're paying about an extra $5 if I compare it to this one, which is the SE, which includes the Immortal T, because they do ship it with the Immortal T as well. So you're paying about $5 more for the new TBS receiver. It's going to be interesting to see how that behaves overall and how people get on with it. Is it worth the extra $5? It really depends on if you're coming across an issue, really, more than anything. If you've come up against the range on Crossfire, then perhaps it'll be for you. I can see a time maybe where this would just become the standard receiver and this would vanish away. I can see that. Bruce has just clicked on a point I did make earlier. The only irony of this is that you're paying $5 more, which is almost 50% of the cost of an Express LRS receiver. But then in theory, Express LRS is going to come up against the same issues as this at 17 milliwatts anyway. You know, is there a diversity version? We believe they are working on a diversity version in the future. That's the information I have heard, that this is the first version and there's going to be a diversity version later on. I would think if you're going to do a diversity version, the way to do it and the way I would do it, and I don't know if this does make sense, was you'd have diversity with only one antenna having the power amp for the telemetry and the other antenna being the standard with diversity option for the receive only. That's what I can see happening. I can see them doing it that way. But at the moment, no, it's not a diversity. It's a standard one. They can't manufacture the diversity just yet, as it was intended for the original diversity. Yeah, that I had read there was something around that. So it's going to be interesting. You know, it should make a difference. 500 milliwatts, it's a lot of power at the RF side. A side, RF-wise. You know, it's a lot of power. Most of the Express LRS ones are 100 milliwatts I've seen, so 500 is gonna give you plenty of power coming from it, that's for sure. Obviously this is on Crossfire only. It'll be interesting to see if this comes to Tracer as well. Can I see this hopping over to Tracer? Probably, if I'm honest. It sort of makes sense to bring it onto 2.4 gigs as well. If you're going to do it, they may as well do it across the board. And it'll be interesting to see again what behavior it has. I wonder if this is going to interfere with things on your quad, such as GPS. In theory, no. 500 milliwatts, you know, if you think people transmit, apparently, in countries, maybe over a watt out of their VTX. I wouldn't expect it. And this is very short burst kind of data. The data that comes from it is just very short bursts. It really is. So I don't really see it being a problem. I suppose what you got to ask yourself is that $5 worth it for you for it when you're buying one? If you're flying Crossfire long range, I think it probably is. I think it's probably the one to go for. But then again, what are you losing or gaining over the diversity model? And that's the other thing you've got to ask yourself. Then it becomes complicated. But yeah, it's available. It's going to be available shortly. It's not in stock at the moment. It's pre-order. It's nice to see TBS doing some stuff. I was a little bit vocal. They've released something I'm not sure anyone has asked for. Who knows if I'm right or wrong on that one. But it is interesting to see. Now, as this isn't recording, I'm not going to be able to put this up as a bloody live stream clip. True diversity and antenna diversity. Yeah, this is all a very complicated subject. Let me just check what's going on my drive. Why is my drive full? Oh, it's only 200 gig. That's why it's full. Oh, dear. So how big was this that started recording today? 2.4 gig. How big is that the other day? 19 gig. Okay. I'm going to delete those two. Permanently delete them, and I'll get myself recording again then. Oh, that don't help. Right. That is why. Because I went and did that. Okay. That's why I've used all the space up. This is just one of the space scratch drives. But I can start recording again now. Woohoo! So, but yeah, so on the TBS thing, you're going to have to see how it goes. That's all we can do. It's going to be interesting to see how people get on with it. $5, I would probably opt for it. I'd end up punting for it myself, most likely, if I'm honest. I'd end up sitting there thinking, is it worth it? I may as well jump the $5. I think they'll end up with a lot of people taking it on that $5. How much is it compared? So let's just hop back to the desktop. How much is it compared to the so we've got the Nano, that's the new Nano FPV Pro, so that's long range. So long range diversity is $49. The long range is. So it's still cheaper than the long range. It's 35 versus 49. Yeah, it's in it. It's going to be interesting to see. And then are they going to mount, is the 69 going to get it? I don't know what the RF output is on that. Is that the same? Is there an increased output on that one? Doesn't say either, so it will be interesting. Look, at the price of the increase, I don't really see them making money on that. $5. I suspect. I suspect that's probably roughly what it's costing them, because by the time they put the PCB in the production and stuff like that, attention, they usually bundle those receivers and they get a lot cheaper. I paid with Crossfire 3 receivers. Yeah, it's a good point. I can see them dumping the standard receiver as well. I'll be honest, I can see that happening. It does make sense. Really find that sort of distance. I do wonder myself, Bruce. I do wonder that myself. I agree with you on that. How many people are flying that and how many people need that? It'll be interesting to see. Just bought the Diversity Nano. Yeah, it will be interesting to see. Now, while we're talking about that, this week I had in this. Now, this is the new TX module from Beta FPV. Let me go on the overhead. This is the new 1 watt. So it is the upgraded version of the original white one I have. Let me just grab it. So that's this one here. Remember, I did a review on this one. This one had some issues. I'm not going to pretend it didn't. When used with the official firmware, it was okay. But when used with Beta FPV's firmware, when you press that button, it killed the RF. They have fixed that. But there is some... Okay, it's still currently using the custom Beta FPV firmware. It is not running the off-the-shelf firmware by the Express LRS team as of yet. It's using a custom Beta FPV build, but they have said the full firmware for it will be coming in the near future. They have tweaked it so it no longer turns off the RF when you press the button to go in the menus, and it's got up to 1 watt of power output as well, and it's got a fan built in now too. I do have to say, it is a better looking module with the LEDs, because they've built a fan into it. It now has like a clear fan. Wait for it to fire up, and the LED is actually behind the fan, and it shines through, and it actually looks a bit better than it did before. If I just hop over to this camera, is it this camera or this one? Actually, no, it's not that one. It'll be that one. If I hop over to this one, you guys can see it there. You should be able to see it there now. It's a bit better to see. So you can see the LED that is available. You can then go into the Express LRS menu. you can still change the LED color. Oh, with it, trying to figure out how to change the actual color. It's interesting. It's not letting me change it. It won't let me change it. I haven't actually fully played with the settings on it yet, so at the moment it's stuck in auto. I can't actually change the LED color. Isn't that interesting? So we can change the power up to 1 watt. You guys can see that there. We're up to 1 watt. Obviously only 25 in the UK. We can change up to 500 hertz down, but we can't. No, we cannot change the color changing LED. Okay. Not great. So it still has the OLED screen. It still has the controlling button. They have improved the area around the USB-C. If you now look at it, it is much larger. There were complaints on the first one, and I ended up having to do that, and that was carve my USB-C cable down to actually fit in there. But they've increased the size around that now, so it does have a larger area around it. And you also still have the power input down here as well, which takes up to 2S batteries. And the overall changes are it does support up to 1 watt of power output. It does have a whole new... I'm going to cover the screen, right, because my camera doesn't like the screen. It does have a whole new heatsink setup inside, and I'm going to be talking about that in the review of it. I'll give you guys a tear down and show you with that. I have taken it apart and had a look, and overall I'm quite happy with how it looks. Although it does appear... they are cooling the module from the back side and not the front. Let's go on to the top one. It does look like they're cooling the module from the back side of the board rather than the heatsink on the actual module itself. But temperature-wise, I've not seen any issues with it. But yeah, interesting. It's up the new 1 watt. It is a bit of a faff to set up, I'm going to be honest, because it comes with this custom version of the firmware, and if you want to reflash it with a binding phrase, you have to go and download their GitHub and then flash it with your binding phrase via their own GitHub repository version. You can directly bind it as long as there's no passphrase in the receiver, but if you do want to bind it via your existing passphrase, because all of my Express LRS gear, I have my own passphrase, and I'm using that as part of the main one as well. AiXun, why are you using the Mambo? I really like the Mambo. The Mambo has been my favorite radio of the last few years. For me, it's the perfect size. It feels fine in the hand. It's a nice weight. It has everything I need it to do. I'm not a big fan of the big radios like the T16S. I have a T16S up there, and it's a bit big. I just don't need a radio that big. I just don't need a radio that big. It's not needed in my world. If anything, I'm really looking at the smaller radios, like the new one that JB reviewed. I know Bruce has got it there as well. We're going smaller, not bigger. You know, I think the days of the T16S and those others, they're coming to an end. I don't need all of the functions that's on that radio. All I use on this radio is sticks, arm, and buzzer when I binned it. I don't even need the flight mode switch. That's all I need. I don't need anything else. I do have my throttle power mapped to that, and that one catches me out because I forget to check it before flying. But I'll be honest, I don't see any need for anything bigger than that now for me. I loved the size of the DJI FPV radio, if I'm honest. That was the right size for me. But it's just too restrictive and not enough thing on. I don't even need gimbals to crash my quad. No, exactly. The radio is the least of my problem. Don't get me wrong. I really, really, for bling purposes, liked the new gimbals that Radio Master have for their radios, the metal ones. They are really nice. But it's good enough. The reality is, it's fairly cheap. It's fairly cheap. It feels decent in the hand. I'm happy with the screen size. It does what I need a radio to do. And that's why I use the Mambo. I would be tempted to go over to a smaller radio, but then you're then hitting the restrictions of the modules. All of my modules are JRs, so what's nice is I can hop them between radios. If I was to go over to the smaller radio now, I'd end up having to buy everything again in the nano modules. That's what I'd end up having to do. If you couldn't get the Tango 2 when I ordered the Mambo. I wanted to get the Tango 2. I'll be honest with you up front. My plan was to get a Tango 2. However, I couldn't get it. There was that time in the shortage and we were down to lack of radios and all of this stuff. So I ended up choosing the Mambo. I really like this radio. It is not perfect, and I do complain about it in my review. But right now I've committed to it for the next 12 months. Yes, a Tango 2 would be smaller. This new radio looks very nice, but the reality is, it does everything I need a radio to do. It's that simple. I don't need everything that's on this. I just don't need it. I don't. It is. Let's just look at the size difference here, right? Okay, so I just don't need everything that is on this radio. It's a really good radio. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's not a decent radio, because it's all right. It's all right. It's not perfect, but it's all right. However, I don't need these. I don't need all of this. I don't need these. All I need is one arm switch, 4 sticks. That's all I change on a radio these days. It's a good radio, but I don't need anything this big. I'll be honest. For me, it's too big. I'd be tempted to go down to a Tango 2 at some point, but I've committed to the Mambo now. So yeah, I'm happy with it. I'm not going to complain at all. Just going to catch up on the chat before we move on, guys. I have a Tango 2, but feel myself a very shifting to Express LRS and the Jumper T Pro. The Jumper T Pro is probably the sensible move, and that I am really tempted to get in a T Pro. I am really tempted to get in a T Pro, and I'll tell you why. If I got in a T Pro, I could then leave this for Crossfire and Tracer, and then just use the T Pro for Express LRS. I could be tempted and just have both in my bag, but then I'm carrying 2 radios, so that's the issue. Then you're then carrying 2 radios, and it becomes an issue. So at the moment, I'm happy with the Mambo. There's some bits I don't particularly like about it, but look at the T Pro. I did see the T Pro review from JB. I didn't like what they've done with the switches along the top. Radio Master Zorro. Is that which one's the Radio Master Zorro? Let's just have a look. Radio Master. Radio Master Zorro. Oh, yeah, that's there. Yeah, I know which one that is. I wasn't 100% sure. Yeah, I saw your picture, Bruce, but I didn't see the video. Did the video go up after the picture? I saw your picture that you put up on the thing. So yeah, we got the Zorro. Yeah, not sure on that one. The T Pro. You know, the T Pro does look a very nice radio, and it's available on Makerfire right now. T Pro Express LRS. It's almost the see. It's not cheap though, is it? Yeah, the vid's up. I saw the post the other day, but I didn't see the vid. Yeah. So the 4-in-1 multi-protocol, it has Express LRS built in, doesn't it? Just to confirm, because I'm getting a bit confused on this now. Express LRS. So as part of Bruce, just to confirm, because I've got a bit confused because they're showing the module on the back. Is it? I thought I read it had Express LRS built in, or is it not built in? No, but it's the light module. Okay, so it's not fully built in. So you're still having to use... do you know, that's it. You Bruce said, because it's coming later. I knew I'd read it. I thought I was going mad. Okay, so it's coming later. Right. So the ideal scenario then is you could get it with Express LRS built in and then have, say, Crossfire or Tracer on the external module. Right. I get that. That makes sense. It's a nice looking radio. There's no question about that. Is it good? Does the scroll wheel work well, Bruce? I was just checking, and yeah, look, nice radio. But at the moment, I'm gonna have to see. You know, we're gonna have to see what comes up with it. We really are. So that's it at the moment. But yeah, we're using that one. Okay, so before we get over to the quad, if you guys have got any questions, please do put it in the chat. Please let me know. If you'd like to support the channel, there are links to Patreon as well as Buy Me a Coffee, and Super Chats are always welcome. My mouse scroller started reversing. Mine does that on an app. I've got an app I use on the PC a lot, and if you move it too quick, it goes the opposite direction. It's really annoying. Yeah, the 6-button setup is a bit funky on it. I saw, I haven't watched Bruce's yet, so I'll watch Bruce's tonight now when I finish this. I saw JB's, but I saw Bruce's post, because he put a post up showing the pictures, but I hadn't seen the video pop up. For some reason, YouTube didn't show me it had gone live. What are my thoughts on the Commando 8? Let's have a look at it, shall we? Again, though, it's just another copy. It's the iFlight one, isn't it? I'm just waiting to... It's not the iFlight one. Yeah, it is. I thought it was. I was just trying to find a picture of it. Yeah. It does have the option to rotate the antenna, which is nice. How to fix this today? To fix what? Sorry, F. What, the 6-button thing, is it? Ah, right. Okay, how to fix the 6-button thing, is it? Right. The Commando, I do like the fact that it does have a rotating antenna. I do like that. The fact that you can rotate the antenna And I know Bruce said it's fixed on his one, and that's good. Yeah, the 6 buttons. Okay, there's a way around that. Oh, that's good news at least. Okay. It's a nice radio. Again, they're all becoming very much the same now, and this is the problem with all these radios. They're all just copying each other, you know. That is the problem. And fix the antenna on a bigger screen. I don't really use the screen on the radio. I don't even look at telemetry on it. FPV, I don't need any of it. You know, I don't tend to look through any of it. So many radios now, though, around this $100, $120, $30 price point. So many radios around this $120, $30 price point. So much choice. So much choice for people right now. I have the Diamond, better vertical or horizontal. It depends what your aircraft's doing. That's the reality. If you've put it vertical in the aircraft, then try to keep it vertical. But remember, polarization will shift as your quad shifts. We need twin 23-650s. There are so many radios out there right now. There really are. Okay, guys, the next conversation, the next thing we're going to talk about, always vertical for long range. Yeah, it's by far better. But just remember, if you're flying a quad, it's going to be flipping around. But if you're flying flat and straight, just go verti all the way. So, last week we had the release of the new goggles from Orqa, and they've put up now just some info on their website. Now, I'm going to need to zoom into this because that looks tiny on the screen there. Let's get this bigger so you guys can see it. So, they finally put some info up, a blog page on their website. They put it up on the 16th. It says the 16th, which is basically today. And it's just telling us a bit more about what has changed. Because whilst the FPV ones went out, and the one pilots, I should say, we knew the info, but there wasn't really an updated web page for it. It was a page on the store. But there really wasn't that much info out there. However, they have now put up a blog post, and it's well worth a read. It doesn't really say anything we didn't know already. However, it's just a bit of a blog post about what they've been doing and why they've done it. And what they talk about is what's changed overall. So if we go down, they ended up being more than a mid-cycle refresh. It turned out to be a significant redesign of the hardware, incorporating every single design change we could think of at that time. More or less comprehensive list of the changes. So they've replaced all impossible to source components. So like all manufacturers, they've had to change things because everything is in short supply. Optimized design for less heat dissipation and more robust operation. Just cooling, basically. Move the power supply electronics to a separate PCB. So that sounds like rather than it being one board, there's just a separate BEC inside now. Remove the cooling fan. Added front-facing, high-speed, multi-purpose data port, the Portal. Now, this is this new port they've labeled on the front. That is... the Portal, interesting term for a connector, and we don't know a lot about this connector. I've still seen very few pics of it. It looks like a data port connector. There's no pins. There's like side pins in it, but it's interesting indeed. Completely designed the a PSU from scratch, so they've redesigned the power supply, much cleaner voltage characteristics, over voltage protection up to 6S, and reverse polarity protection. I'll be honest, I'm as shocked at these two here that the fact these weren't in the version 1s. So you're telling me the version 1s have no over voltage protection and no reverse polarity protection on a set of goggles that cost $500-600. Frankly, that's shocking. You know, I'm not being funny, but that is shocking if there wasn't protection on a premium product. That should have been there as standard, and I would rip any manufacturer for that. It's Yeah, not sure what to make of that. Lots of people killed Orcas by plugging in the wrong battery. Yeah. It's called fusible components with integrated smoke release, as Bruce says. Yeah, that is a minimum on anything you make. Can the user plug the wrong size battery in? Yes. What happens if he does? How can we mitigate that? That's literally how it should have been on day one. Reverse polarity, okay, I sort of get, because if you're supplying a LiPo connector with an XT60, then you shouldn't be able to get that wrong. However, over voltage, come on. But they've added it. It's on the new one. Added focus adjustment. That's really cool. Nice to see. Redesigned optics for better sharpness and contrast. I don't recall people complaining about the past optics. Eliminated cropping at the corners. They had a software solution for that, though, didn't they, on the previous versions? They did have a software version. Special anti-reflective coating. Very cool. We like stuff like that. Smoother, more robust IPD mechanics. So easier to do the adjustments. This is interesting. Now, this next comment is very interesting, and I would question why. Because this will be the largest cost in what they've done here, in my opinion. Complete plastic retooling. So they have completely retooled the casings. Whenever you're manufacturing anything, and don't get me wrong, I'm not an expert in manufacturing products, but what I do know is one of the largest costs in manufacturing is the tooling for plastics and things like that. The retooling of that, I do question why you would go that far. Complete defogging system. Okay, that makes sense. They wanted to add another defogging system, so they've retooled. Okay, I get that. More precise, lower profile joysticks. Does that matter? Improved, more robust strap and buckle design. I do know there were complaints about that. Removable top cover. Okay, so there are some changes here, but the cost in that alone is quite high. That's a big part of any budget. Okay, they're saying it's an Evolution 1. And obviously, look, the big one is that these now have reduced field of view, and that's where most of the noise have been. And you'll note that they haven't commented in that, but the big comment is obviously from users is that the field of view is smaller. It'll be interesting to see how it looks overall. And look, unless you're comparing one set versus the other, you might not notice it anyways. But it is on the small side. It is on the small side compared to what we're seeing from other goggles like the Skyzone 04Xs, even the HDO2s. Now, they do talk about a couple of other things here as well, which are quite interesting. No Orqa release does not mean that the original FPV-1 is abandoned. Both versions of goggles pretty much share the same compute core. Most of the updates made for the younger FPV-1 pilot will flow down into the original FPV-1. So, from a processing point of view, they're basically saying that both will be okay. The FPV-1s are digital ready, and I'm going to write more about Orqa's digital system in the future, basically because they haven't done it yet. No, you don't need to sell your Orqa 1s. The consumers like your field were the unfortunate and in-racket statements that Orqa made social media a few months ago. We said something along the lines of, and this is the latest update for FPV-1, and they're just talking about digital reality. They were talking about where they'd be ending support for the FPV-1s, but it wasn't ending support. They just meant they were bringing digital. And really, they just talk about that. Now, they do go on to talk about the field of view down here, and they said, we completely redesigned the optics and traded in some virtual image size, the apparent field of view for image quality, at the same time fixing the issues with the FPV-1s. They're going to do an entire blog post about the optics as well and talk about the field of view and the reasons for it, which is quite interesting. And really, look, it's worth a check out. Just going to cough. It's nice to see that they have put a statement out. There's some stuff here which is nice, and look, it really does feel like there's improvements along the way, and the goggles have had some really nice changes. I do question sort of retooling because that does cost a lot of money. And I'll be honest, I think I'm more shocked that wasn't there already. And to be completely fair to Orqa, do the Skyzone 04Xs, do the HDO2s have this? Because if we're going to shout at them, then we need to shout at everyone else. However, in a product that takes DC voltage, that should be a given. That is a given that sort of protection should be there. So that's the situation. I know some people who are getting their hands on the goggles this week. They are arriving. I might be able to see a set this week myself. I know I've seen the amazing Bot Grinders posted. He's got a set. And he's going to be talking about them, but he's had to go away and come back. One of the reasons I like analog still, the goggles are nice and small. Yeah, I know Bot Grinder had his, and I know a couple of the people. They've shipped quite quickly as well. The users who've ordered them, the shipping has gone quite fast. So it's not gone too bad. It's not gone too bad. Okay, guys. Now, if you've got any questions, please do put them in the chat. Before we finish today's video up, we're going to take a look at the build that I've managed to smash up today. Now, let's go to the overhead. I was flying this today, doing just trying to get some stick time because I haven't flown much because it's winter. And to say I had a few crashes was an understatement. Yes, there were some crashes today. One big final one into the grass. It is literally everywhere. And what we're going to do is we're going to get it under the other one in a minute. And we're going to have a look at how it looks. It ended up in quite the state today. The last moments of it was upside down in the grass with the motors spinning with it disarmed. So that's not a good sign. Let's be realistic. But we're going to have to see. Now, this is an Express LRS build. So we'll take a look at it. And again, just to show you guys, for those who weren't here earlier, this was it. Just after the crash, it was still covered in mud. It isn't conformally coated, so some water may have got into places. There was no magic smoke as far as I could see. And then at one point, it did end up there, attached to that fence because I missed the gap. Very close, but not quite made it through. That you could see it was quite dirty then, but the other big off was after that one when it was in that one there. So I think what we're going to do, let me get this light on over here. Let's get some lights on and let's get it on the main bench. Let's move that out the way. Let's put that over there. I'm just going to swap microphones, guys. So give me a second. Go on to that one, go on to that one. Hello. Okay. You should be able to hear... Sorry, 1 second. I'm just going to mute. There we go. You should be able to hear me now on the road. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to hop over to the workbench. Boom. I'm going to take a look at what damage I've actually done to this, because it could be very bad indeed. Let me just get a lipo as well. So the first job we're going to have to do is we're going to have to take the props off because I've left them on, as you guys can see. So let me just get a spanner. So we're going to have to get the props off it before doing anything, because I have no intention of firing this up on the bench with the props on. Because I said the last time I saw it, it was upside down, trying to fly off nonetheless. As you can see next to me, I've got the smoke stopper or the Vi-Fly or the V-Fly short saver, which we will be using. We will give it a try. What we're going to have to do is get the grass out of it as well, and make sure that we get as much of the grass out as we possibly can. And then, ow. Brilliant. I've just got a piece of carbon from the edge of the frame in my finger. 1 second. Oh, they're no good. Let's try these. That's not working. What about them? Are they going to do it? Let's have a look at them. Okay, sorry. 1 second, guys. Ow. But to say that it is an understatement. Oh, I've managed to cut it now. It's great. I'll be digging that out of my thumb later. Oh, yeah, on the edge there it was. That hurt. This is why I love the newest carbon sanded edges on frames. Wow, those are some chunky arms. Yeah, this is a very old frame. Now, this is my Smasher build, okay? This is a Thug FPV build. This is, if you've ever come across Thug FPV, they used to make frames years ago. I don't think he's making frames anymore. And it is a solid beast. It really, really is. So, okay, I think what we need to do first of all is try and get as much of this grass out as possible. Let me just find a brush. Where's the brush gone? It should be here, which it isn't, which is annoying. Why is it all of the tools you want vanish? Ah, there it is. When you want them. It's always the same, isn't it? Every time. So what we're going to do is try to get out. There's going to be a bit of a tidy up on the bench later, that's for sure. I think we'll end up taking the covers off. Just look at, right, how much is in there. You can't see the speaker on the speaker is full. Look at that. And the Vista is absolutely caked into the Vista as well. But what we're going to do is just get the majority of it off there and then see how... Look at the bench. The brush length is too long. Yeah, it's... Okay. Okay, I think that's good enough. Okay, so let's get the radio turned on. Let me just find my Express LRS receiver. Where's that gone? I had the white one next to me. There it is. We're going to need the radio. I'm going to turn the Mambo on. Now, this could end up in smoke, so be warned. Model select, get the right model. I'm also going to want my cable to connect this to Betaflight to check if this all works. So, okay, what we will do is we could check it for shorts. Should we manually check it first? Let's do a check first of all. Okay, let's get the multimeter out and let's have a look. So, we'll get my trusty new multimeter out from EV Blog, Dave. For those who haven't seen, we'll get that here. And what we're going to do first of all is just check the input for a short on the multimeter. So we've got it on resistance mode. Let me just change it onto the right mode. Oh, God, with it. Go back to auto. Perfect. As you can see, we've got the multimeter there. So what we're just going to do is check the input. Good. So there's no direct short. We're okay on that. So it's unlikely to smoke on us out the door. but it doesn't mean we're going to get an ESC go up, but that's fine. So that's good news. I don't have to instantly worry about it trying to set itself on fire on the bench. Okay, so what we're going to do is... Now, if the motors are saying it'll be a short, I just don't know how it sort of was making a rather horrible sound, Bruce, when it was on the deck. So what we'll do is we've got the short saver. Okay, we need to put it on the high current mode. It still may trip because these savers are not perfect, and if there's a high startup current on the quad, it can overload it, but let's go for it. Sounds good. It's also connected to the receiver as well. Okay, so what we're going to do is arm. Hey! That's rather boring, isn't it? And look, we've overridden the short saver now. Oh, we've lost the camera. Wait a minute. Oh, my battery's gone flat on the overhead. 1 second. One second. There you go. We're back. We just refocus. Sorry, we lost the overhead then. Okay. So, let's go direct battery. We overrode. Okay. That's better. The secrets of a great live show. Okay, so we're back up. We're on direct battery now. So we're armed. Yep, that's fine. No issues there. Beeper. Yay, that's good. Right, we now need to check if I'm getting video. So let me just grab my DJI goggles. This might be quite an anticlimax. Try reversing the battery. Oh, thank you, Bruce. It might be quite an anticlimax, this, because if this works, then it's not as bad as we thought. Let me just get me V2, V1s, and see how it looks. Let's see if it's alive. Let's go back on the overhead. Oh, and even the Vista's on. There we go. You guys can't really see, but there you go. Let me just wait. I haven't got OSD yet, but there we go. Yeah, rather boring overall. Okay, so there was no major damage. Although there's something I want to check, because I did have some rather strange behavior in flight. And I have a feeling I was having a problem with my Express LRS receiver. So what I'm going to do is just plug this one in to Beta Flight a minute, and we're just going to go onto the desktop. And what we're going to do is just open Beta Flight. I just want to see if the receiver's behaving as it should be, because I couldn't tell if the fact that it was still running the motors was because it hadn't disarmed, or no, it says it should be. Yeah, that's all working as it should be as well, so there's no problems there. Yeah, that's all fine. Yeah, okay. So she's all good. So other than needing a cleanup, we are working absolutely fine. Now I have got, I'm going to just unplug the USB. I am going to conformally coat this one, because now I do have the Vifly buzzer on the back of this. If you don't have one of these, oh god, shush. I would advise getting one of these little devices. They're really good. They have a built-in battery, and it will automatically beep. So if you do throw the battery in a crash, what it will do is it'll beep like this, at this volume first of all, And then after a period of time, it starts getting louder. It's taking up a step now. And then it'll eventually get really loud. We'll just wait for it. Here it goes. And it starts getting really loud then. And it will just beep to let you know where the quad is in the grass. So even if you do throw the battery, it's a really nice feature, that. And you can just turn it off, press and hold. The only annoyance when you're trying to turn it off is you don't know when it's ready to turn off. I also have in this a Wi-Fi short saver as well as a capacitor, and I am convinced the reason I've not burnt anything on this is because I do have that Wi-Fi short saver installed and the capacitor. If you haven't seen the Wi-Fi short savers, they are basically 3 TBS diodes. Let me just grab one. I always keep one on the bench here. They go on all my quads now. They're these little things here, right? They go on the power input. 3 DVS diodes on a little board, and I am convinced these are the reason I don't burn out motors and boards even in crashes, because they absorb the spikes. And there's one there with a capacitor as well. It's in that coating. It's completely thinged. I can't remember what flight controller's in this actually, but yeah, so we've survived. Nothing shocking, nothing fantastic, other than being covered in grass. So that's rather disappointing. Let me just come back over to here. I'm going to swap microphones. Okay, I'm back on the main one now. I'm just going to unclip the road, so we don't want that. And come back onto the chat. Okay, starting at the bottom. I couldn't hear the beeping from... you can also plug a battery back in to say... You can also plug the battery pack in for 5 seconds. Yeah, I think if you go back in and out, doesn't it? It turns it off. I always forget about that. Genuine Poke, Learn to Crash B, Evening Carbon. I'm sure. I'm guessing then the reason it was running was for some reason it hadn't taken the disarm command. That's the only assumption I can have. Or it was water on the board. Conformal coating, just dip the whole thing in a bucket of varnish. It's about 5 seconds. Not just, yeah, I know what you mean, but I mean, on and off, isn't it? Yeah. So shall we try that? So what you do is when it's on, so we fired it up and it'll kick in. There we go. Okay, so it's on now, working. So if I take it off, go back in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Still running. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, it doesn't want to disarm. I did read, though, there was something in the instructions for it. There's definitely something in the instructions. I'll have to go and check that. Depends what arrived first, water or thing. Yeah, it's very possible. No, I haven't looked at the black box. Is this... Which controller is this? This one takes an SD card, which it hasn't got in it. Might have had one before the crash. No wrong. I usually wait all 5 beeps. Connect, disconnect, and reconnect within 5 seconds. Ah, right. Okay. Yeah. There are some quicks for it. Press the button, turn it off. Was it in shock? We need footage of the crash. It was pretty shameful, the crash was. It was nothing spectacular. I've barely flown for a few months, and I'm a bit off the sticks, to say the least. Hoping for smoke, got blackout. Yeah, it's a bit of a shame. I do apologise, guys. That was a bit of a letdown, if I'm honest. I honestly thought something was burnt. I'll be honest. I thought, because as I was walking towards it, I'd already disarmed on the remote, and it was making... There was 3 tones. I could hear the ESC tones, the motors squealing, and the Wi-Fi beeper making some strange tones as well. Not good. as Bruce says, for motors to turn, there won't be a short. At least it dried. Yeah, I'm guessing it's dried. I probably need to conformal coat this one for winter. There's not a lot of space in there. One of the things I was looking at doing, because if I look at it on the overhead, if I just show you guys, it's a really tight build, this one. It just fits the Vista in the back, and it just fits everything else. And I was going to make some 3D printed plastic sides for this. I even think I made them, I just never printed them. So I might need to go and have a look at that. So I'm just trying to get the camera to focus. There you go. It is all in there very, very tight. Very, very tight indeed. Plenty of space up front. But this is a custom frame that's been modified as well. So, well, you know, there was a video I saw this week of a guy flying his quad underwater. He'd conformal coated it and he flew the thing underwater. I don't know if you guys saw that one. That was quite interesting. That was well worth a look if you haven't seen that one. Where did I see that video? I'd show it to you guys now. I saw it on Facebook. Let me see if I can find it. If I watched it, he flew it over water and underwater. The water, yeah, the motors will take the water fine. Oh, something just while I remember, I don't know if I mentioned this last week. Immersion RC have released this bracket for the Orcas that allow you to fit them with HD0 or their own antenna module. It's for the new Orqa 1 pilots. These are available as well. You can simply print this bracket yourself and put it onto your goggles, so it's well worth a look if you have got a set of the new pilots, and that way it allows it to clip onto that new clip at the front and then hold the module on the front. I forgot I had that in my saved. I definitely saw a video where someone basically flew their drone underwater. It was quite shocking. But I couldn't have saved it. No. But yeah, conformal coating is what will make the conformal coating basically puts a coating over the board that prevents the water performing any shorts. Nothing is perfect. There is always room for error with it. You might not always survive, but it does add a good layer of extra protection. It really does. It really, really does, compared to not having it. I suspect most of my issues today were water. All that retooling needed to print a bracket. Can't really say on that one. Now, guys, if you've got any questions, before I finish this one up, we're going to finish on the new soldering station. Now, I've just had this in. Now, I ordered this just before Christmas. Let's go on the overhead. This is the T3A 200-watt soldering station. Now, I know a lot of people like the TS80 and the TS100 soldering irons. If you don't know what they are, let's just have a look at them. TS80, I think it's the TS80, the TS100. You've got these soldering irons here. A lot of people like these for FPV. They can be done off USB. There's a version that you can do on, I think it's the TS100. There's a TS100 soldering iron, I think, like this one, which takes a DC jack, and you can get that with an XT60 as well. Let's just have a look down. Hobby RC, there we go. They got it in the UK, like £50. And these ones will take USB. And I know a lot of people like these. Hi, Chris. How are you doing? I know a lot of people like these soldering irons. However, if you're after something for the bench that offers a bit more, you want to consider getting yourself a soldering station. And this right now seems to be the real go-to low-cost soldering station that's available. Now, it's made by a company called AiXun, I think is how you pronounce it. It's called the T3A. It's up to 200 watts, has a nice big LCD screen. It has multiple temperature set points, variable temperature. It has that 200-watt power supply built in, and this is compatible with T245 heads from the likes of JBC. It also uses the T245 cartridges as well. Now, I had this in this week from Banggood. This cost about £100 or $100 with the handset. If I just reach over and grab this just to show you guys, as you are the amazing people on the live stream. What we have is a couple of parts to this. So, it comes with a basic stand. Oh, God, the box is falling off. Let's zoom out a bit more, I think. Let's just come out. There we go. Now, it comes with a basic stand, but I ordered the extra stand, which is this one here. And then you've got the soldering station here. Now, as I've said, it's got the big LCD screen. It's got the temperature control. And then it's got the 245 style handset. Now, it has the removable cartridges, which are the 245 cartridges. This is the same ones that are available for the JBC ones as well. It comes with 3. So it comes with this sort of chisel end one, and it comes with 2 conical ones, this needlepoint conical, as well as this bent nose conical. These aren't ideal for me. I would be ordering something different. But the real nice thing about this station is, A, it's got enough power to melt the iceberg that sank the Titanic. And it's also really nicely set up as well. Now, this is mains, Bruce. It's powered. It is 240. So it is 240. I've done all the safety electrical checks on it. It's well earthed. I haven't stripped it yet. I will be stripping it in the next video. But the real nice thing about it is it does have these individual hands. And the way it works is you can actually change them via the station. So if you wanted to change the tip while it's hot, you can take that cold tip there, place him there. And if you want to change, what you simply do is drop him into there and pull. That tip comes out. You simply push that tip in, push that in there, and then you've swapped tips. So you can actually do it whilst the unit is hot. And then if I wanted to swap back to that tip, I just put that in there, go on to that one, put that in there and push, and we're all in, ready to go. So you can do hot swapping of the tips on this as well, especially with the extra base. You've got a tip cleaning section down here. You've got this section here, as well as this bit here. Now, the real, yes, it does, Bruce. It does have, and I was about to say, it has this little cable here which goes into the back, which is a connector, and it does auto power up and down on the device as well. Let me just grab a cable to power this, because what I want to show you is just how fast this iron heats. It's incredible. It really is. So let me just grab. I've got a cable here already for this, so I'm going to just plug him in. So just to show you guys, when it turns on, you get the display up. You can see it's currently at room temperature. Let's just see. I'm going to go over to manual and get this to focus. Let me just manual focus this. Oh, it's not playing ball. Come on. There we go. So we've got the manual focus. So you can see on the front, we've got the display, which shows us the power, the current voltage. It's a 24-volt DC station, the on time, the firmware version, and the current unit temperature. Now, what I want to show you is just how fast this heats up. So I'm going to set it to 280 degrees. And when I lift the handle out the base, it's going to then kick the iron in. Now, you guys just watch how fast this goes up. So we're out. Boom. Already there. That is how fast this iron will go from complete cold to up to temperature. It is incredible. Now, like many of the other stations out there, it does overshoot to a higher temp and comes back down. Now, that is intentional. The old firmware on this used to actually shoot down. Yeah, they've added it, Bruce, in the new firmware. The original firmware didn't overshoot at all. but they've now added the firmware that overshoots by as much as 50 degrees and then cools back down. And they're doing the same as what JBC do. Now, the nice thing is when you put it in the holder, it shuts it down and then it goes into standby, which is cool down as well. And it will then just cool. And then when you lift it out the stand, it heats. There has been some complaints that they've now added this overshoot because the original firmware versions don't. The original firmware versions just go to the temperature and that's it. But the real idea of the overshoot is to sort of give a burst as it kicks up. Now, menu-wise, there are a whole host of settings on this thing. You can set the calibration, you've got the maximum temperature, the lock temperature, the dormancy options. So there's some real nice features. For instance, on dormancy, which it's on dormancy now, it's on cooldown. So you can set dormancy to be 0, like it was, or you can set dormancy to be like 100 degrees. And then when you lift it, it shoots up to maximum temp. And then you can add a timer that you can have it that it will only sit at that dormancy for maybe 20 minutes or 5 or 15 minutes. You can set time delays around when the dormancy kicks in. So if you put it in the stand, the dormancy doesn't kick in instantly. You can delay the dormancy. There's a whole host of features on this thing. It really is good. This you can get on AliExpress or Banggood. The unit itself with the 245 handle is about £100 or $100, but you do pay extra for this stand as well. This was about another $25, but it is incredible. Like if I set it to 380, the maximum temp, and I'm going to lift it again. Ready? 1, 2, 3. There we go. It's there. It really is that quick. It really is that quick. And the nice thing about it is if you are hot swapping, right? So I'm going to put this down to do it. It actually will swap over. So the second I touch that, it disables the power. Goes back in. And then I've hot swapped the tip as simple as that. It really is that good. So if you're looking for something for the bench right now that is better than these other ones on the market, this is well worth a look. I do have a couple of complaints about it, and let me hop onto the main camera. My main complaints are that it sits on the bench too low, so it's quite low level. So if I pop it, just move them and move that. As you guys can see, it's quite low level. It needs to be like that angle, but you can't just put it on that angle because the power cable sticks out the back. So I need to make a bit of a stand for it that gets it up like that. And I'll be honest, the rotary encoder doesn't feel the best, but it is a very, very good bit of kit. It really is. Let's just bring it up. T3A. And it is getting rave reviews right now by a lot of people in the industry as well. There's a lot to like. And the manufacturer, actually, they even have their own website. They're not just some random manufacturer making stuff. They've got their own website where they list the firmware versions on. So mine came with version 1.23. You can't downgrade the firmware at the moment. So there is a few people complaining that the new firmware has added this overshoot, but it really isn't anything major. But they've got their own website where you can download the software for the station to upgrade the firmware. If I just scroll down, they've got all the info on there as well. You know, they're not just a random company. They make a lot of parts for repairing mobile phones. They really do. They got their download center, so here you can download the app, and you can see they got all of the software down here. Let's just have a look. They should have the software for the T3A. They've got all sorts of devices. They really do. They make all sorts. They've got the JBC watch stuff. There's an app that you download for updating the firmware. I think it's this one, the AiXun platform installation package. I think it's that one there. And you download that. Let's just have a look. they do show it further down in the specs here. Oh, no, here we go here. Yeah, AiXun platforms. You download the software and you can upgrade the firmware via that software as well. I haven't even actually done that yet. Oh, God. Wait, they went the wrong way. It's USB-C. So you want the AiXun platform. Okay, so it's the AiXun platform we want. So we go to the top, download center. We want the AiXun platform. So we want this one here. Let me just find a cable. We'll see what this does. Okay, we've got USB-C. Now, I believe they recommend taking the power out when you're doing the USB-C side of things. Shock horror question marks over dodgy Chinese-looking software. Anyone got any clues? Anyone know what that says? Only downside to stuff like this. Anyone have a clue? Will you change the language? I'm going to have to get my phone out. This is the only downside to these things. Translate. I'm going to have to use my phone to live translate what this says on the screen. So 1 second. Setup. Ah, found it. There it is. Hey, we got it. So you got to go down. There you go. Right. So I've changed it to English. Not that that seems to change anything, but there. So we've got a USB port on the side. Plug it in. Oh, it's turned on. Look at that. Display comes on. There we go. Oh, it's updating it for me. Whoa. Okay. I don't like that. So it's just updated to the latest version of firmware. Just automatically. Okay, that's interesting. So that's something to be a little careful of. What if I didn't want to upgrade my firmware? Yeah, it's now saying version 1.25. So the release notes, and they do have release notes, say added a graph function and solve the problem of garbled characters displayed on the home screen. Well, I didn't have that, but hey ho. Now you can see here where it says optimized soldering pen heating. That's the version that added the overshoot. So that's interesting. But, well, we've updated the firmware. I didn't really expect to, but I've updated the firmware. So should we have a look what's changed? They say they've added a graph. Anyone knows what that is? So we've turned it on. We'll just have a quick look. Let's go on the overhead. Can you imagine it if all items updated the firmware like that? That would be shocking, wouldn't it? Okay, so I'll show you guys again just how fast this heats. Try and get my camera to play ball. Come on. Come on. What? My camera does not want to focus. There. Thank you. So, lift it out. There we go. Oh, it overshot that time. Whoa. And then it's getting down to the 380 now. There we go. And then it's showing the graph on the side of power usage. If you guys can't see, this graph here shows you the power usage that you're currently using from the device to keep the soldering iron hot. They said they've added a graph. Oh, look at that! We've got a temperature graph. So what you've got is Celsius in red, percentage of use in blue, and it's showing us the thing there. So let me just find a board 1 second. Right, let me just put this here. I got a PCB. And just show you guys this. So what we'll see here is if I come onto this board and try to melt this solder here, I'm going to put the tip against it. You can see now that the power usage has gone up, and now it's melted that. So it's showing you the temperature as it goes along. And then if we go back on the main display, if you watch now the percentage, right? So the percentage is what percentage of energy the unit is using to actually maintain the heat. So I'm going to go on to that there, and then there you go. You can see it's using 14% of the energy. This was just a solder test board I was using earlier to measure it. There we go. And this is the tiny conical tip, absolutely tiny. If I go to the, let me just go to the chisel tip before we, there we go. Hot swap in the tips. And then we can, yeah, get on there instantly. It's just got so much power. And then again, if I press that, that takes us into that view, which is quite nice, which is new. We haven't seen that before. Very good. And now it's gone back into dormancy. So cool. Very, very cool indeed. So if you're interested in getting one of these, do check them out. Price wise, did I put them up? I didn't put the price up. We went to the website. Banggood, AliExpress, I got it. It's again another order from AliExpress that just arrived without a problem. T3A. Let's just go on here. So here they are. If you search for AliExpress, now I got it from these guys here. It was this phone store, Phone Fix. I'll put a link to this in the description. Now it has no soldering zone, like the no-fly zones. Yeah. But yeah, really, really nice station. I'll be honest. It really is a nice station. I should get you an affiliate link for this, is what I should do. I'd need to find how to log into my affiliate program for Banggood. But it's that one there. If you search for the T3A on Banggood or AliExpress, I will put a link to it after the stream. I'll find an affiliate link and put one in. I should do that. You know, it's a reality of it. Overall, I got to say, I'm impressed with it so far. I really am impressed with it so far. Looks a good bit of kit indeed. It really does. Now, just before we wrap this one up, guys, I'll answer any questions you may have. Let me just sign in. I'll see if I can sign into Banggood, and I'll find a link for it now as well. Okay, so yeah, I'll get you guys a link now. How do you... I don't even know how you create a link on it. How do we use it? Code center. Is that it? No? How do you even get a code? How do we even do it? Home. I haven't actually looked how to use this yet. Ad center. All categories, new hot products. So they got all of this. Speciality, bestseller, new arrivals, What I can't find... Event product promotion. Ah, please enter your search term. T3A. Okay, there we go. Is it this one? Unit price? That can't be it. Oh, yeah, here it is. Okay. Is it this one? T3A phone fix store. Yes, found it. Okay. That was complicated. Promote by link. Copy the code. If I paste that there, what's this going to do? There's a link. Ah, it's over the length. It's over the length. That's shocking. Okay, I'll put a link to it in the comment section after the video finishes. Okay, so worth a look. I'm quite impressed. For the money, I think it's well worth a look. Yeah, I've got a post on it over there as well. I put a big post on there today. Yeah, there is a very long post. Let me just put that there. I've given some thoughts on the EV blog already. I've just said I need more time with it before I can 100% say it's perfect and stuff. But based on the history people have had, I have no real concerns recommending it right now. I just want to have a bit more time with it just to make sure it is fine. I did some stuff yesterday. I did a port change on a laptop, which I had to do. I've started soldering up some stuff, and the only thing I'm really struggling is with the tip size at the moment. So yes, Peppermint, I'll send you a message. Yes, I'm still going that way, but I'm only in the morning. Well, I'll be up there in the morning. I'm tied up. I can drop. Yeah, I'll catch up with you. So that is it, guys. If you've got any questions before we wrap this one up, please do put it in the chat. Really, finally, I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who watches, to everyone who's been here tonight. I'll apologise for the lack of smoke in the FPV quad. Hadn't tried it earlier, honestly. I just left it to dry. I just thought we'd give it there. If you're interested in supporting the channel, please do check out the links to our Patreon as well. And I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone on that. As I've said on this damn thing, this week, the plan is to get the first batch in. It's probably going to be about a month before they're fully available, but I'm going to try as hard as I can. Yes, I've had some interesting comments on the price and stuff, but it is what it is. People will either want one or they won't. But anyway, that's it for me. Stay safe, look after yourselves. There'll be a video going live in the middle of the week, which is one of the old ones. Which was recorded just before Christmas, in fact, which will be Express LRS. I'm a bit behind on making content, I'll be honest with you. I am a bit behind, to say the least. I just not felt like doing it because of COVID, but that's over now. So hopefully there's some stuff to get talking about. I went to fly today with that new Express LRS module, but I couldn't get it to work. It was doing really funky stuff, and then I come back and try to diagnose the funky stuff, and it worked absolutely fine. Don't you hate it when that happens? But anyways, stay safe, look after yourselves, and I will speak to you guys again soon. Now I've got to find the off button. Bye-bye.